Welcome to Women Winning Divorce. I am your host, Heather Quick. I am an attorney, entrepreneur, author, and founder of Florida Women's Law Group, the only divorce firm for women by women. I love thinking big, thinking outside the box, creating creative solutions for women, and empowering women to win in all aspects of their life. Our approach at Florida Women's Law Group is to provide women with a strategy to not only achieve their objectives, but win at life. I believe that what may show up as adversity is simply an opportunity to change and improve your life. In each episode, I sit down with innovative professionals and leaders who are focused on how you can be your best self before, during, and after divorce. In these conversations, we are looking at how women can win at life. I have the unique opportunity to meet women when they are at a transition period of life. But that is only the beginning to becoming your best self and winning at life on your terms. With our guests, we enjoy the opportunity to explore ways all women can win and enhance their life, no matter where they are in their journey. Because divorce is just a point in life, not the end and not what defines you, rather a catalyst for your growth. Welcome to Women Winning Divorce. Each week we discuss issues including divorce, custody, alimony, narcissism, and other family law issues to provide insight on the journey of women winning divorce. I'm Heather Quick, owner and attorney at Florida Women's Law Group. And today we are so pleased to have with us Joy Bartholomew. Welcome to our show, Joy.
Oh, thank you so much, Heather. I appreciate the opportunity to join you today.
Well, I'm very excited about our conversation. I know the listeners are going to love it because even though, fortunately, not all divorces are high conflict, but when they are, you need help. I think you need help from various people throughout the process anyway. But today we're going to talk about what you do as a divorce coach, how you can help in high complex situations and even situations maybe that don't have a lot of high conflict, but that coaching would be appropriate. And what Joy can do, and I would love for you to tell us a little bit more, because I know you can help women going through the divorce process in dealing with their emotions while also dealing with, the not always unraveling, but a lot of their whole life, and they're going through a legal process. And so I'm sure you can talk about it better as far as what you do and how you help women in this time.
Oh, definitely. I love being part of a divorce team for women because I really think that there are people with that legal expertise like yourself who can really manage that divorce process. They're the financial people, the CDFAs, all of those, financial advocates who can come in and give them all of that money information. And I think that we're a part of the team. Divorce coaches are part of that same team because if we can help them reduce their stress, if we can help them find clarity, then they're going to come to you. They're going to come to their financial advisor with a little bit more understanding of what the process is going to look like. They're going to come more organized and they're going to show up ready to work rather than calling your office and using all of those billable hours to boohoo on your shoulder. We can help them boohoo with us and really allow them to express those emotions and find out where those points are that they really need to tap into to communicate more effectively to their divorce team and to their co-parent. Because just because you're getting divorced doesn't mean that this person is completely out of your life. If you've got kids, the person is with you forever in a different way, but you're still going to have to figure out how to manage that relationship. So this is why I stepped into divorce coaching, was to really help women maybe engage their parasympathetic nervous system, really find ways to reduce that stress and be able to reduce the conflict and move through the process more quickly and more seamlessly.
Well, and you made such a great point, and many of them, but all of those things are necessary. Like, there's just no doubt. And for the women listening, it's like, it goes for everybody. I really don't care. I feel like this is a very difficult process, no matter how educated and sophisticated you are and everything. I mean, it can really rock you. And I think most women find even surprised that they thought, okay, I thought this was going to, I want this. I'm going to just go through this without all those emotions, but they really do occur. And, for all of our clients, we do we do help them through it. They call attorneys, counselors, you're helping them through that, but we're not trained to be a coach or a mental health professional. And, we are always looking at it from your legal advantage, right? Like that's the way we approach it. And well, we've talked about your goals. How are we going to help you get there? And now that we can't be sympathetic and help with the emotions, but as you pointed out, that may not be the best way to engage with your attorney because it might take twice as long. And as we know, the more emotional you are, sometimes you don't hear everything. So you don't have as much clarity on what we are discussing or decided. And a coach can really be such a great resource that absolutely complements your legal representation during a divorce, I think.
Oh, most definitely, because of the fact that we are going to tie in with all of those other components of that divorce team, and we're going to find the same goals that you're looking for. Like, what is it you want? Do you want to keep the house? Do you want additional custody, not a 50-50? Do you want more in the retirement? What is it that you want? How are you going to legally work through that? But there's uncertainties and there's a lot of fear and anxiety in the process. And because there's no specific control that you have, that is just going to amplify all of those other feelings and all of those other emotions. So if we can help them work through that, then they come in ready to work a little bit better through this process. So yeah, there's just a lot to it, and having gone through it myself, I saw from, the front lines what that looks like and how discouraging it can be.
Yes, I think that is a very good word. And then it can get so much better, and it can be better. You do have to go through it. It's not something you get over. You have to go through the process. And the more support you have and the more ability to get clarity on what you want your future to be, that's going to help your decisions rather than just trying to deal with right now. Sometimes it's overwhelming to think about your future,
Mhm.
but to get the best result out of your divorce possible, we really try to talk to our clients about their future self, because now it would be better for us to litigate for where you want to be in 3 to 5 years than from just getting out of it right now, right? Because those
Exactly.
decisions will be different. Okay, so Joy, you got to tell us though. I need to understand the journey, because I've got like police officer, divorce coach, and yoga instructor, and we just got to know, like, how did this journey happen?
It was a very circuitous route, right? Like there is no straight line in life. There was no straight line in this journey either. I'd been a police officer. I was married to another police officer. And we have 2 kids. And come to find out, he was having an affair with one of my girlfriends, one of my close friends. Our
Ouch.
daughters, it was small town. It was ugly. It was just all over the place. My daughter and her daughter were pretty much best friends. It really was so divisive at work, at home, in the friend group, in the kids group. I mean, there wasn't a part of my life that it didn't impact. And it was really rough. Having been a police officer at that point for about 24, 25 years, like I've gone on the domestic violence calls. I've gone on the custody exchange. I've been there when, the husband had come and kicked the door in trying to get his stuff or flatten the ex-wife's tires or whatever it was. And, I saw kind of the nastiness of it. But it doesn't necessarily prepare you yourself for all of these emotions. So when I was going through all of the drama, one of the things that I loved was yoga. And I had a yoga membership where I could go throughout the month. And he found out that I had this, but it was too expensive, right? In the air quotes, it's too expensive. His boat wasn't too expensive. His ski trips with the boys weren't too expensive, but my self care and my yoga practice was too expensive. So one of the first things I did was I signed up for a yoga retreat with one of my girlfriends to Costa Rica. My time, my money. I can do what I want. And I signed up to be a yoga teacher. It's like 47, 48. I'm not the 25-year-old super bendy size 2, right? But I'm like, there's a place for everybody in this field. So I became a yoga teacher. I did meditation facilitation. And I really just did a lot of like what you were talking about, that work on myself, because I
Mhm.
needed to get through the drama and through the process. And it was so rewarding to be able to do that, that I additionally became a coach. And I started off as a health and a life coach. Hey, if I'm working with people in this space of yoga and meditation, let me bring in, that body, mind, and spirit. Let me bring in that coaching aspect. And then as I got moving forward, and there was this thing called COVID, nobody was really looking for private yoga teachers to come into their house and help them through. So I transitioned into divorce coaching just as a segment, just one of those things that kept pulling me. You get that feeling, that calling, like, why did you go into family law versus criminal versus, you get this calling that you're in a particular place. And for all of the drama that I had gone through, all of the things that I had done, I was like, you know what, this is speaking to me, because if I can help women get through this process better, faster, I feel like the $6 million man, like faster than before, better, the whole bit. If I can help women get through this process more intact and not through all of the issues I had. I mean, there were anti there were was those the medications for depression, and there were times that I was even suicidal at that point because I was in a place of uncertainty and unknown, and I couldn't see a way forward. And even though I'm not a therapist, a mental health professional, I know that there is a path to help people even outside of those modalities. And that's where I was stepping in, is not just to help them in that mental health, but to help them in this process as well, kind of to walk that tightrope of
Mhm.
being their advocate, and helping them through this process. So it really was that evolution of seeing what my past was, what I had gone through, where I was stepping into, and that grass is greener on the other side. One of my girlfriends says all the time, divorce sucks, but being divorced is great. And so it's getting people from that feeling of, well, this is overwhelming and this absolutely sucks, to them getting to that place of, wow, I have independence and freedom, and I get to do with my time, my money, my place, whatever it is I want. And there
Mhm.
is that freedom on the other side.
That is just so true. Everything you said, and I think that that is so impactful and powerful. The way you went through, and thanks for sharing that with us, because you just have a great insight onto into what women are going through because you went through it, and so now you can help coach them, obviously, through the process. And I am a big believer in coaching. I'm also a big believer in therapy, and I believe that they serve great purposes that just really run parallel with one another, and that both very helpful. Coaching, to me, from my perception, and when you're in the divorce, it helps you very similarly with how we deal with the legal process. We have our goals, we have our objectives, we map out how we're going to get there for our clients, but then they can set goals and set, a way to get through the things that are most difficult for them with somebody who can help them take those steps. And I just think that having that support in addition to your legal team gives women just more everything you said, the clarity, but then begins to build so much more confidence.
Oh, a ton of confidence, right? And maybe that's something that they were, I don't want to say robbed of, but maybe that was something that they gave up in their marriage, right? And maybe now it's that confidence and finding their voice. And that was one of the things that I truly found through that process was, wait a minute, I can step up. My voice matters. My ideas, what I want matters. I don't have to be dictated to through this process or the rest of my life. And now it's just the funny thing. Like now I found my voice. Now I'm not quiet anymore about anything. I'm like, oh, well, I have an idea on this, or I have a opinion. I'm throwing it out there. But I think that so many women in their marriages just after a while just stop contributing to those conversations because they don't feel validated. They don't feel like they're seen. They don't feel like they're heard. My ex and I had gone through a period of, I did my own little research project in my marriage. We didn't speak literally for 3 months in the marriage. If it wasn't, if it wasn't who's picking up which kid where, there was no other conversation for 3 months. I was like, how long can this go on? It was like a day. And I was like, oh, well, that was 2 days. Oh, that was three. 3 months that went on.
Wow. And and that can be so painful and so lonely. And I talk to women
Yes.
all the time. It's different than being alone because you can be alone but not lonely. But when you have your partner there, but giving you the silent treatment without that connection, it can feel so lonely for so many women to be in that space.
Right. And if you don't feel like your opinion matters, why are you going to keep voicing it? If you don't feel like what you say contributes to anything, why are you going to take the effort and really put it out there just to have it shot down? And it's a form of an emotional abuse. It's a form of, that mental abuse just in that relationship not being able to be who you are authentically.
I agree, and it's almost as if, which I do want to. I'm gonna save this. We're gonna go into this a little bit after the first break, but when you are so long in that pattern of saying, not speaking, not really making decision, not even valuing your opinion because no one does, you almost have to relearn all of that about, like you said, making decisions and, oh, I can do this. I can now say what I want when I want and explore these different ideas and pathways that I had shut down for so long.
Exactly. And that was the fun part. The fun part about being divorced, not getting a
Being
divorce, right?
divorced,
That's
right,
the
right.
fun
The
part about
after.
being divorced is making those decisions for myself, and who I was at 45, 50 wasn't who I was at 20. I had all new things that I wanted to do, and I got to do them.
That is awesome. Well, we are going to take our first break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about, how the coaching works in maybe more specific cases, like some high conflict cases, and how Joy helps her clients when they're dealing with the co-parenting as well as the divorce, because that's a lot on top of just the divorce. So while you wait, please visit womenwinningdivorce.com and subscribe to the show. And if you're enjoying the show, please leave us a 5-star review so other women like you can find this content. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Women Winning Divorce. Today we are discussing divorce coaching with Joy Bartholomew, and then specifically when you're in a high conflict case and then you're dealing with difficult co-parenting, how having a divorce coach can really give you clarity and help you through that process. And before the break, we were just talking a little bit about that, about how great it is to be divorced once you have gone through the divorce, and that clarifying that can really help you see there is light at the end of the tunnel, right? Now, Joy, I would like to talk to you about coaching clients. Let's just talk about co-parenting, because I have always, found the intent of the legislator, is good intent, but parenting is difficult whether you're married or not, requires a lot of good communication. And a lot of times the breakdown of the marriage happens to be maybe some communication issues. So it sometimes gets even more difficult for a period of time until you figure out, now how are you gonna co-parent with this person that you don't want to be married to, you're not married to anymore, and how do you keep your sanity through that?
Oh, co-parenting can be very tricky, but if you keep the kids at the forefront, if you keep them at the pinnacle of what it is that you're doing, you can really release some of those emotions and some of that you know, negative conflict that you've had with your ex, and really work towards making it in the best interest of that child or those children. And I think that's what we really need to focus on, is what's in the best interest of our kids, because it's not about us anymore. Like you're saying, you're already divorced and maybe your communication wasn't great before. Mine was awful. And I say that with all honesty, it was absolutely awful. But I find that through the co-parenting, we've actually been able to keep respect for one another, not use the kids as the go-between for conversations, and really have created a really good working relationship as co-parents, my ex and I. And I give him a ton of credit, right? For all the betrayals, for all of the drama, for all of the things that happened. I will say that he is a good dad and that he has worked very hard to regain the trust of the kids and to really work at this co-parenting. So it can be done. It's what you put the energy into. And that communication, like you were saying, is key. And I do work with a lot of my parents on that process, not responding, not having that emotional response, or not reacting, rather, not reacting and having that emotional response, but responding correctly, responding with the right intent, the right words, and laying out a process for them to make that communication better.
With technology and the rapid fire text messages and things like that, the then's in writing, which is good when it's in your benefit from the attorney's perspective, but many times not. And yeah, it can get out of control quickly when it's being fueled with those emotions. Now, and this kind of plays into this a little bit because we see these in high conflict cases, but I know you have several certifications, including one from the Divorce Coaches Academy on high conflict divorce. So tell me about that. Like, what did you learn about that and how does that help you help your clients?
The Divorce Coaches Academy is a great organization, and it's divorce coaches who are really training up that next generation of coaching, right? Really in that niche that is just so important in this area. So they really do delve into co parenting and high conflict, finances, just so we can be better coaches for our clients, so we can be better trained to help them so they can come to you better. So they have certifications that varying levels of certifications they do. And one of the courses that I did take with them was high conflict divorces, and that's both in the divorce process and in the co-parenting space. And what I love is one of the things that they say, and I believe to be true 100%, is divorce brings up so many emotions that it will have that good people behaving badly, right? It doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily have that sliding scale all the way up to he's a narcissist or he is high conflict. No, but there are good people who are behaving badly through this process because of those emotions. So again, it's really working through how to frame the context of the circumstances, how to really tap into what your true thoughts are on this and what those feelings are becoming and why you're reacting, why you're acting out in the way you are, why your behaviors are. So this is where I love the coaching model, is working through those thoughts, those feelings and those actions. Look, let's take it back. Let's find out where that breakdown is. You've got a thought, he says something and it's going to trigger you, right? Can I take the kids to my sister's house this weekend? And all of a sudden you get triggered. He's trying to take the kids extra days. That's not what he said. He's asking for some flexibility, right?
Right,
The birthday
right.
party for a cousin, who knows? But you hear it and he's trying to take the kids away. Okay,
Mhm.
well, let's look at that thought. And what feeling did that evoke? And what response did you give? How can we reframe that? How can we work through it? And how can we help you work through that emotional response before you just knee jerk reaction, lose your mind in a response in a phone call, a text message, an email, whatever it is. And so that's where their training comes in. That's where the work as a coach, as a meditation facilitator, this is where I come in with the breath work. Like, how can we bring down your stress? How can we really tap into a place that's not so reactive and rooted in fear, in anger, in hurt? Where can we tap into something that's a little bit more gracious, a little bit more understanding, and bring in some more effective communication? So that's where I love that there are coaching academies such as Divorce Coaches Academy and places that will help train people to make this an easier transition for people going through divorce or whatever it is in life, their career, their business, just life, right? That
Right.
can help them make that transition easier.
Now, I mean, I know you've seen a lot because you're a police officer for, I don't know, you had said at least like 24 years when you were through divorce. So you had a
I
long
retired.
career.
I retired at 30 years.
Okay, so 30 years as a police officer. I'm certain you have seen how arguments during high conflict divorce cases, impact families. And, that if it goes on, it just can be so detrimental to children as well, right?
It really does have a huge impact on the kids, and it puts parents in a bad light. It puts the kids in the middle. It creates this rift in the family that doesn't necessarily need to occur. One of the first calls I went on, I was probationary. I still had a field training officer with me. Was a family fight, and it was trying to get the dad to leave because of a fight. And he picks up the kid at the dinner table and puts a knife to the child. You want to talk about high conflict. I'm sitting there as a 22-year-old thinking to myself, what in the world is this such situation? How do you diffuse it? How do you not escalate it and make it worse? And I think over my time as an officer, realizing this de escalation opportunities that we've learned, it's been something that I can also bring into my coaching practice to help other people as well.
And this leads exactly to what I was thinking, because you're only dealing with your client, right? I mean, so you can't really have influence on the other spouse, but how can you still create, such a positive impact when maybe their spouse, their ex is really difficult?
And that's a really good question, because so often that high conflict person is looking for that fight. They want the litigation. They don't want mediation. They don't want to do alternative dispute resolution. They want the fight. They want to win at all costs. They're going to be blaming somebody. And what it does is when you start turning your reactions into responses, you take the wind out of their sails and you take the fight out of the dog, as it were. And all of a sudden they're like, well, dang, how do I respond to that? How do I rile them up to keep this fight going? And if all of a sudden you're like, okay, well, thank you for the flexibility. I can certainly, accommodate this. Can you accommodate this on the other side? Once you have that effective and more friendly but firm communication, sudden they're like, well, I didn't get the response I wanted. And it begins to de escalate the entire momentum of that case. And this isn't just with maybe one spouse's response. This is going to be with responses from the attorneys. It's going to be responses from maybe other family members. It's a concerted effort really to bring down that whole fight process of this season of divorce.
Right. And, I think, and I've had other, guests in, on the podcast. And, one thing we talked about on one of my other episodes, which I felt like was such a great analogy. It was basically the dance, the pattern that the two of you get into. And once one of you stops, now their actions aren't getting the reaction that it used to. And it really can begin to change the dynamic, even though, because you can only control your response. I tell our clients that all the time. We think we have all this control. We have no control over everything we think we are controlling, right? But we can control how we react, how we respond. And you got to focus on that. And especially with divorce, when sometimes you feel like, I've lost all control over everything that you thought you had, right? And I think that exactly what you said is, and it may not happen the first time, but you have to be very controlling of yourself and recognizing, hey, if I don't keep acting in the way he's looking to get that reaction, he's going to have to change his behavior eventually, because, right, he's looking for this fight. If you're not going to give it to him, eventually things do diffuse. I do believe that to be true.
Yeah. And I think that like you were saying, it's not the first time. It might not be the first 10 times. It might not, it may take a month, 2 months, 6 months, but that pattern of habit, if once it starts getting ingrained, and it doesn't mean that you're a doormat, right? Like I think a lot of people think that, oh, I'm giving in. You're not giving in. You're responding maybe in an adult, restrained, compassionate way that's going to lead to a better long-term relationship and response with your ex, your co-parent. Because again, you're not getting rid of them anytime soon. You've got kids for eternity at this point, you're going to need to continue that relationship in a good way. Because what's going to happen at graduations? What's going to happen at weddings? What's going to happen at birthday parties? X, Y, and Z. There are all of these life events that are going to come up. And are you going to miss out on your kids' things because you don't want to deal with this person? Or are you going to miss out on separating out all of these things because of a conflict? Resolve
Mhm.
the conflict sooner and come to a better term and a better relationship with that ex so you can actually really enjoy life with your kids and your ex even after the divorce.
But then, Joy, doesn't he win? Right? And then I know you've heard that because sometimes it really, and I'm a competitive person, so I get it. I get it when I hear that with my clients, but these are your children, in the co-parenting and these are decisions. And it really, you aren't letting him win. I feel like you're doing better by yourself because you are actually controlling your emotions and allowing your children to win, be better off because they don't feel such of this conflict.
And it is that the kids are winning because there's not the tensions, right?
Mm.
The kids are the number one winner in the whole thing. Yes, do you have to eat crow every once in a while to make this work? Yeah, of course you do. But you know what? If you can reduce that stress and you can find that a little bit more compassion, then guess what? Then you're healing yourself as well. So it's not that he's winning. That's on him to do the work on himself. You can only do the work on your own, right? It's like forgiveness. I can forgive him. I can forgive him for the betrayals, for the fights, for the arguments, for whatever it is. I don't need a response from him for that forgiveness. And I'm not forgiving him for his benefit. I'm forgiving him for my benefit and my peace of mind and my internal just reduced stress. So I have to do the same thing in this divorce process. He can feel like he's winning, but really I'm the winner here. My kids are the winner here. And I don't have to engage in that fight.
I love that because yes, that's how we one win for your kids because your kids
Mhm.
are and they do see it. I don't care if they're not, and they just know, right? They know that you guys their parents hate each other, which no child should feel like that.
Mhm.
And it really is because you have control over your emotions, your reaction, and that is a win because you're exerting control over how you respond. And I think that can lead to more peace and just an overall like peace with how you're handling yourself in this process as well.
Yes.
All right. Well, that is right into our next break. And when we come back, we are going to continue talking with Joy about divorce coaching and really some more specific issues that some of our listeners may have been experiencing and how coaching can help in certain situations. So while you wait, we encourage you to visit womenwinningdivorce.com to subscribe and check out our resources. We will be right back. We are back with Joy Bartholomew discussing high conflict divorce cases, divorce coaching, and really all around how we help women and how she specifically helps women through the divorce and after the divorce as a divorce coach. And if you're enjoying this episode, please leave us a 5-star review so other women can find this content. So Joy, we were talking on the break for a moment, really about women who've been through at that other level during that marriage and divorce of emotional, verbal abuse, sometimes physical abuse. And, they're starting again at just a different level than maybe somebody who hasn't been through that. And how, so maybe you could talk to our listeners about, how you can specifically help women like that who I know are listening and wondering, well, it's so bad. I don't know if she can help.
And, that's a really real place for a lot of people to be. Like when you're in the depth of it, when you're on the bottom of it, you don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. You don't see where the good is actually coming in. And I've been there and I completely understand. I've sobbed. I've sat in dark rooms. I've been just completely unhappy. And it was those slow steps every day And it was building confidence, and it was building independence, and it was learning and utilizing resources that really came into a full picture of a healing journey for me. And I try to utilize a lot of those things for the women that I work with, right? I try to utilize journaling to really allow them to find that in depth understanding of why they're in a place that they are. And I'm not talking the marriage place, I'm talking about their own personal place. Why are they feeling that they aren't enough? Why are they feeling that it's hard to let go? Why do they
Mhm.
feel like they can't step forward into a new space? Utilizing a a plan that really does bring in body, mind, and spirit in that healing journey, because I don't want them to just go, well, I did the journaling, I did maybe this mind work, but I haven't moved my body. I haven't had any water. I'm still eating everything for lunch out of a vending machine, because then your body's not being a part of that process as well. And as far as, bringing in that spiritual part of it, I definitely, talk to people about their devotionals, their spiritual life, their prayer life, their meditation life. What is it that you're doing that nourishes and feeds your soul? So many people look at self-care and go, but I got a mani-pedi, or I'm going to have a girls' night out and drink some wine. And that's nice to
Right.
have a little release. But what is it, that internal work that you're doing? Because not all of it's external. Not all of it is going, well, I bought, I sold the house and I bought a new place. And I love when ladies have a fresh start. When they say, you know what, I'm leaving the family home. There were great memories there, but you know what? There were probably some not so great memories there either. I want a
Yeah.
fresh start with my kids. And sometimes it's releasing what you thought life was going to be like in that home that you thought you were going to live in forever, and stepping into a smaller place that is bigger living with less stuff, bigger living with, less to do in the yard, and really being able to live an authentic life of what you want, not what you were tied to. So there are a lot of ways that I work with ladies in regards to being able to release the past, get past that stuck, and step into a new future. And I am a huge proponent of, yeah, if you need to go work with a therapist because maybe you've got some childhood traumas, maybe you need to go work with your primary care physician and get some mood enhancers, some
Yeah.
antidepressants, whatever it is. Find what works for you. Like, this isn't a one-stop shop that fixes everything. This is your life that maybe needs a little tweaking here and there. And get those components that work best for you. I can certainly work you from that unstuck place forward, help you into that next life, but maybe you've got to resolve some things further deeper in your past. So you keep making the same mistakes and keep stepping into these same toxic relationships and find these people who aren't in your best interest as your next boyfriend or spouse or whomever. You've got to have that clear path forward. And I love seeing women, once they've gone through these processes, once they've made these adjustments and changes, and how they flourish when they get on the other side. And they've done all of that hard work, and they've brought these pieces into their day, into their life, and they've been able to really step forward. And it's such an amazing role model for their kids to be able to see mom's growth through this. Not just that she's stuck and still fawning over dad, or still in these toxic relationships, or still having anger management issues. No, she's really come through this in just such a healthy way.
That is, you said a lot there that was all so good. And what really stuck with me, no, it was so good. Because it's just so helpful and so necessary. And one of the things that I really stuck with me is releasing the past. And it doesn't mean you forget the good, but you can release maybe those beliefs, like you said, well, I thought we would do this forever. And I thought it would be like this. And it's like, but let that go. And that can allow you, that makes room, right? When you release the past, it makes room for new things, a new environment that in so many ways I think can be extremely healing, to give you that fresh start, like you talked about.
I love the fresh start opportunity for people when I'm teaching a yoga class, and we'll do like warrior two. And if you're familiar, like your front hand is reaching forward and you're looking over your front hand, but your back hand is reaching behind you, right? Like you know those lessons that are in your past. You can reach back and see maybe the mistakes or what you did well or how you've changed. But all you're doing right now in that strong warrior two pose is looking out to the future. You're looking out to what's ahead and not forgetting those lessons that are behind. I don't believe in forgive and forget, forgive and learn, maybe
Right,
forgive
right.
and change, but you're not going to forget. You don't want to forget those lessons you've learned because that's made you who you are today. But it's all about looking forward at that point.
Absolutely. And I agree with you completely because, right. Then, hey, you don't want to forget the lesson because there's always a lesson in the good and the bad, and don't have suffered that pain for not, right? You learn, hey, okay, I'm going to show up this way this time, or I'm going to see that big red flag that I didn't see the first time, right? But maybe I'm going to
Right.
see that, yeah, with this next relationship, this next step. But I do think that is so powerful. And I love yoga, and that's on my list. I don't know that I'll get to it this year to go, become certified as a yoga instructor, just for the purpose of the learning, right? I'm not going to go probably, I don't know how much teaching I'll do, but I think that whole process of that journey to do it would be amazing. But also in that warrior too, the balance, right? So because you still have balance from what you learned in the past, and you can't forget it all. And then, because then you're kind of off balance, and you're going up making maybe repeating the same patterns that really didn't serve you well.
Mhm. Exactly. And it's that balance, it's that game that you play a little bit in give and take, finding out, stretching yourself maybe a little bit this way and maybe saying, oh, that's not exactly for me, let me pull that back. And but being able and capable to explore these new things and see what does fit and see what it does, it bring you maybe further into balance and you didn't realize that you were missing something, or is it taking you further out? And it's really being so in tune with yourself in this next step in these next phases to really fine tune that for you even more.
And I really think that, divorce is just, it's a massive change in your life. Whether you wanted it or not, it has happened. And that is an opportunity, it allows you an opportunity to maybe, hey, I thought my future was going to be one way, but maybe let's make it better, and let's take a different path and stretch yourself, be able to really have that inward look as far as, well, what's best for you in the future. And I think that coaching process, because, well, how much, I guess I got to ask you, like, do you do more coaching when they're in the divorce process or more after, or tell me a little bit about that?
So both, honestly, I help women in the divorce process and as they're transitioning, through all of the paperwork, and then walk them sometimes through afterwards, a little bit maybe into that dating phase or into that communication with their ex, or reestablishing relationships with friends that maybe they had lost during the divorce or during their marriage. So it just depends on who that person is. Sometimes people are like, my divorce paperwork is done. I feel great and I'm off. Thank you very much. And sometimes we continue that coaching relationship even longer. So it just depends on who the client is and where they're feeling comfortable and where they're feeling that they still need support.
Yeah, because, with a lot of the things we've talked about, one, I think so much of it is extremely helpful during the divorce process, but there's a lot going on, and, as well, that there might not be as much of an opportunity to really then grow into maybe who you want to be. And I
Mhm.
can see where the coaching afterwards as well has a lot of value for women to really explore how they want to show up now as their now divorced self, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And I think going through the divorce process, I always liken it to a snow globe, right? If you've shaken up all of those emotions in that snow globe, through the divorce process, we're learning how to let that snow settle so you can get that clear picture. Well, now all of a sudden you've got women after the divorce, and now they're kind of stepping on that precipice and they're like, well, what do I do next? I'm divorced, but maybe I should get a new career. Maybe I should move. Maybe the world is open to you. And all of a sudden that snow globe is just swirled back up again. And all of those pieces are still just haven't settled. You've shaken that snow globe back up. And so now they need extra support going, what do I do next? And so now we have to kind of bring that back into play and allow that process to continue to see where those next steps for them really are taking them.
Yeah, and I think that's so great because, once you're in it and then all of a sudden the divorce is done, and then there's a lot, and particularly in a high conflict divorce in a case, and, many times after the divorce, okay, now you need to do a lot of work. There may be relationships that need to be repaired if they can be, whether like you were saying with, your social circle or friends or a lot of family members. Many times, they have a lot of feelings about the divorce. And when you're in the divorce, you don't have time to really help them. And I'm not talking your children. I'm talking your extended family or your ex's family that I can see where that's a lot of emotions. And it would be very helpful to have a coach help you work through that and maybe repair those relationships and, with who how you see things now.
Exactly. And there's always a process. There's always that next step. And once they get comfortable learning the process of handling their emotions, finding that clarity and moving forward, women can tackle anything, but it's giving them that initial support to get them where they're off and running and independent and just ready to take on the world.
Well, Joy, I so appreciate you having on the show this week. And I do want to ask you, which I ask all our guests before we go, if you can impart for our listeners, basically, what have you learned about divorce and helping women throughout your career that would help them today?
Yeah, of course. The divorce process is one chapter, just one chapter of your life. It's a hard part. It might not be a chapter that you want to reread over and over, but it's there in your past. And it's getting through it with integrity, it's getting through it with grace and confidence. And once it's over, close that chapter, and then start writing the next one. You're not limited to what was. You have so much to give, and it's ready to close out that past and really start fresh in the new.
Well, that was just beautiful. And I think it's so true. So thank you so much, Joy. We have reached the end of our show, and we are so thankful to have our guest, Joy Bartholomew, this week. You can find out more about Joy at divorce-confidante.com. And her bio, social links, and a link, of course, to her podcast will be all provided in the show notes. So we encourage you to check that out and listen to her. And for everyone listening today, we just really appreciate your time, and we look forward to helping.
Thank you for joining me for this episode of Women Winning Divorce. My goal is to elevate your life and the way you are thinking so that you are best equipped to win at life. If you enjoy the show, please subscribe so you automatically get my new shows every week. And I would love to hear from you personally. Come join the conversation on social and join our Facebook group, Women Winning Divorce. We welcome your comments and suggestions. We want to bring you content that helps move your life forward. Women Winning Divorce is the place for an elevated conversation on how women can thrive during times of adversity in order to live their best life.
Dunkin' Iced Radio, take one.
Dunkin' Iced Coffee is... Ooh, sorry, one more time? Dunkin' Iced it... Ooh, Kelly, we're trying to record a timely summer-focused radio spot for Dunkin' Iced. Can you stop with the shaking?
But, this is the sound a Dunkin' Ice makes. Maybe you should keep it in?
Well, yeah, that's actually a pretty good idea. Try all the Dunkin' Refreshers, iced coffees, cold brews, and lattes. Dunkin' Iced. America runs